Hello everybody. Looks like the gauge says it's empty. Let's take a walk into the kitchen and see what's in the fridge today, guys. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. Here we go. We got another big bomber. This is full sale. Uh, this is Full Sales Top Sale Imperial Porter Bourbon Barrel Aged Brewers Reserve Imperial Porter. Boy, that's a mouthful, ain't it? Golly. Guys, I've had a couple of the Full Sale beers, and to be honest with you, I've not been impressed with what they produce. This is the first one of the Brewers Reserve beers that I've done, and this is the 2012 edition. So, and it's a year old or less than a year old, I would think. 9.5% alcohol by volume, and what I've heard and read on this beer, some people like it, and a lot of people do not like it. So I don't know where I'm going to be on this, since I've not been impressed with what they do so far. But this is one of their big beers, and Brewers Reserve and Bourbon Barrel on top of that. So we'll see what this one brings. And I think as far as dating, all we're going to get is the 2012. Alright, let's see what it's... Alright, after its initial release in February 2011, Top Sale was aged for about 12 months in bourbon cask from Kentucky. Top Sale Bourbon Aged Imperial Porter has hints of chocolate, figs, and oak cheers. So, a year in a bourbon barrel is a long time. A lot of the breweries don't age their beers that long in a bourbon barrel, just because of how much bourbon is going to be influenced into the beer. Usually they're only like 30 days to 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 months at the most, but a whole year in a bourbon barrel, I got a feeling this is going to be super duper bourbony. So, is that a word? Bourbony? We'll see here shortly, guys. This beer is an American Porter, 9.5% alcohol. It says availability is the winner. Food pairings for this one, the cuisine is barbecue. The cheeses are buttery brie, Gouda, Havarti, Swiss. And of course it's a porter, so it's got the dessert title in there in the food pairings. And the meat for this is beef, smoked meat, grilled meat, which is pretty typical for most of your porters. The glassware is pint, Becker Stein, the tumbler, the mug, the oversized wine glass. I've got to do a glass on this one. It doesn't say anything about the snifter, but and I don't have any idea why. Once you get to this much ABV, and especially this style of beer, oversized wine glass, the snifter, the Duvel glass, works awesome on these beers. And another thing, when I'm sitting here looking at the bottle, it's got a very large headspace. The beer stops right here. So you shouldn't have more than 1 inch of airspace in your bottle, and they've got a good 2 inches in here, so that's a thumbs down right off the bat. They've left too much air in here, so a lot of times when you leave that much air in there, it's not good for the beer. It can either be over or under carbonated because of the air gap they've left in there. So I don't know how much carbonation it's going to have. Like I said, I may pop the top and it may spew out of it, and then I may pop the top and pour it in. It'll be flatter. It could be flatter as hell, or not bottle, or not conditioned enough to produce anything as far as carbonation. So we're going to find out on this one here shortly. I don't want to keep rambling on this. The commercial description is basically the same thing it says there. After its initial release in 2009, it was aged for 10 months, it says here. So we're getting conflicting information. A lot of times that happens with different sites, and they'll give the information they have, which may not be quite accurate. The extended aging presents aromas of oak, coconut, and bourbon. I'm sure a year or 10 months in a bourbon barrel is going to be heavily on the bourbon side. Deep chocolate flavors, warm, full-bodied beer, deep black in color, top sale, bourbon aged. Pure Porter has a roasty malt flavor that's immensely drinkable and smooth, very limited availability in 22-ounce bottles and draft. ABV, 9.85%, it says here, and IBUs are 65. So don't see anything on the label that we need to discuss any further. So without further ado, let's get the cap off of this boy. Yep, you got a nice hiss off of that one, so it's well carbonated. Let's see what we get down the center. Alright, we're going to leave about half of that in there for the other half. Let her enjoy some of this. See what we got over into the light. It is black, 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 black. I am getting no light whatsoever through the center, around the outside. So it is pitch black, dark as night, guys. No light, no moon, no stars. All black. Let's get a nose on it. We got about a finger of head on that pour, which is pretty impressive for almost a 10% beer. And if you don't like bourbon, leave this one on the shelf, guys, because it is heavily aromas in the bourbon. And I don't drink bourbon anymore. I don't drink any of the stronger spirits anymore. I have drank my share in my day, trust me. And I don't drink that stuff anymore because it is what it is. I mean, you drink that stuff, it's going to hammer you, it's going to knock you down. If you drink one, maybe two, you'll be okay. But usually people that drink that kind of stuff, they'll drink 3 or 4, and then they're staggering to the bathroom and falling down later. So I don't drink the heavy spirits anymore. I get enough bourbon from these bourbon barrel aged beers to wet my whistle and satisfy my appetite for it. So bourbon, and did I tell you I smell bourbon? Yes, it's definitely bourbon, and the bourbon is so strong, along with the alcohol, that it's masking most of the other aromas. Now I could probably set it down and walk away and come back in about 15 minutes, and it might pick up some other aromas, but this fresh, letting the genie out of the bottle here, all I'm getting is the bourbon because it's been aged in those bourbon barrels for so long. I swear, I am not getting anything but bourbon. I don't smell any beer. I just smell bourbon. It's like somebody poured bourbon in my glass. If I was blindfolded and smelt that, I would say, that's a shot of bourbon. Maybe a slight hint of some roasted malt in there, but the alcohol in the bourbon is just masking it up right now, guys. Oh well. Let's see if we got any beer in here or it's all bourbon. Cheers, everybody. Definitely bourbon. The alcohol is there, but it's not as hot as I was thinking it was going to be by the aroma. But the bourbon is overpowering. Too much bourbon. They should not have aged this beer 10 months in a bourbon barrel. They should have cut that in half. We might have got some vanilla and some coconut out of it other than all bourbon. Too much bourbon for me, guys. If you're a bourbon head, you will love this beer. If you like drinking bourbon, you'll probably like this beer quite a bit. I'm not so much a bourbon head, but I do like the bourbon flavored beer. Bourbon, barrel aged, and bourbon flavored beers. As long as it's not gone to the extreme, and this one is borderline extreme, guys. Wow. And I've got a feeling this is going to end the warming up of this beer is going to intensify that effect. Big beer, big tasting, big alcohol on this one. So we might get some other aromas other than bourbon once it warms up, but I don't know. The alcohol usually starts standing out more heavily out of it, and you start getting a little more of the heat. I don't know. We're going to find out. I'm not going to keep flapping my gums on this, and we're going to let it warm up. Let the other half have the other half. You'll see what we end up with here in about 35-40 minutes. So stick around. See if it changes my mind. Right now, I'm not super impressed. Be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. I am not impressed with this, guys. I don't know why they had to leave this beer in bourbon barrels for 10 months to a year. That is overkill as far as I'm concerned, and the beer represents the overkill. I'm a bourbon barrel fan from the get-go. I love these bourbon barrel aged beers that they do. Not just these guys, or most of the brewers do. But they let this one in the bourbon barrel way too long. I don't know if somebody wasn't sampling this once a month to see how far it was going, but it is overkill as far as the bourbon. And I hate to say this because I'm a big bourbon barrel fan, and this is over the top. This is way over the top as far as the bourbon taste. I get no traces of the beer. The bourbon is overpowering everything. Now that it's warmed up, the alcohol is made its presence, and it's even more intense than it was when it was cold. So guys, I don't know what they were thinking here. I mean, if you're a bourbon addict, you may love this beer, and some of the ratings represent that some people really love this beer. I mean, if you drink bourbon once a week, every day, or quite often, you may think this is the best thing since sliced bread. But to me, all I am getting is bourbon. I'm not getting any qualities of the beer. No roasted malt, no chocolate, no coffee, no nothing other than bourbon. I mean, if I was blindfolded and you put this under my nose, I'm saying, that's a glass of bourbon. You know, that's whiskey in a glass. And I'm not into the whiskeys or the straight bourbons. It's just too much. This beer, if I had another one, I would not drink it straight. I would mix it with something. I would blend it with something else. I really would. This is over the top, and I'm going to grade it accordingly. It is overpowering with the bourbon. So I don't know what happened there, or if they just forgot about it and stuck it away, and then, oh yeah, we got that back there, we need to go check on it, and then, whoa. And then they tack on a brewer's reserve. Well, it was reserved in the bourbon barrels too far. I don't want this to be a 20-minute video, so I'm going to get on with this and final chug. Overpowering bourbon. Overpowering alcohol with the bourbon. No beer qualities at all. Guys, I'm going to go contrary to what you're reading on this. I was not impressed with this whatsoever. I'm going to give it a 5, which is a B-. They're lucky I don't give it a C. If you're a bourbon head, you may love this. You may think this is the best thing you ever tasted. To me, it's overpowering with bourbon. It masks the beer qualities, and I'm not into that. I want to taste some of the beer qualities and not just straight bourbon. If I want bourbon, I'll go buy a damn bottle of bourbon. So, with that being said, guys, Beer Habit comes up with 80, which is in their good range, and I'll say that's stretching it. I don't think it's as good as it could have been if they would have taken it out of the bourbon barrels a lot sooner, or blended it with something else once they realized it was that intense. So, the rate beer ratings on this is 99 overall and 93 in the style, and I could not disagree with that more. The 2008 version they did this may have been better, and what I've read, it was better. So I don't know why or what happened on this one. Not impressed. Not impressed at all, and I probably would not seek it out again unless I knew that I was going to blend it with something else, or it was a closeout and they had it for $2 a bottle. So with that being said, guys, not impressed with this one. I have not been impressed with most of the stuff that comes from them, and this just adds another check on that list, or a reason for me not to buy those beers. So guys, that's my opinion. You may disagree with me. That's what I'm saying on this beer. Hit the like button if you like it. If you don't hit the like button, and give me some comments why you don't like it. Let's look at Imperial tomorrow. I know it's going to be better than this one because it's not going to be a bourbon barrel aged one. Join me then. We'll see what it's all about.